Hi friends, welcome to GT Coding. In this video, we are going to learn about Modal. So let me just show you what we are going to design in this video. So we had created this web page in the last designing tutorial, and we also had this button with this transition, this animation over here. And now when you click on this button, here we can see that we had this pop-up window open over here. This pop-up window is called a modal. So this is what we are going to design in this tutorial. We will also see how to create this animation where the window is sliding down. So let's get started with this tutorial. So here is our design that we had created in the previous video. So the first thing that we will do is make this register now button a clickable button. There are many ways to do it, but in this video I'm going to just use an anchor tag, so and give it a class name of register link and paste this over here. So we can see that it is now a clickable button. We have to use some CSS to make it look better, so we will leave it there for now. Now the next thing that we need to do is design our model. So basically how this works is we have to design this model in our HTML itself, and then we can use the unique IDs of our divisions to make the model visible and invisible. So let's get started by designing the model. The first thing that we will do is create a container for our model. So we will create a division called model container, and in that we will create another division for the actual model. So model, and first of all we will create this close button over here. So for that we will create an anchor tag and give it a class of close and just type in X. And the next thing that we need to do is create this heading, enter your details. So we will create a span for it. So span with a class name of model heading, and in that we will type enter your details, and then we will create these three input fields and this button. For that we have to create a form. So if you have not watched my HTML forms tutorial, you can watch it to get a basic understanding of how this works. So we will create a form with an action of hash. So we will create three input fields. The first one is of type text, and then we will give it a placeholder of email, and then the next input is also of type text, and we will give it a placeholder of username. Then we will give a line break, and the last input field is of type password, and we'll give it a placeholder of password, and we will give a break as well. The last one is a button, this register button. So we will type input and the type is submit, and then inside that we will give it a class of button register and also a value of register. So there we can see we have our button over there. And the last thing that we need to do is create both these links. So we will go over here outside our form, and we will create two anchor tags. So, and we will give it a class name of sign in, that we will type have an account already, and then we will create another anchor tag with the class name of forgot password, and here we will type forgot password. Now we'll create an ID for our model container division so that we can access it in when we click on the register button. So we will create an ID called model, and in here in our anchor tag we have to type in hash model. So when we click on this button, this model will be triggered. So that's pretty much it with our HTML. Now we will move to our CSS and do some styling. So now we are here in the CSS. First of all, we will style our register now button, because we have changed our button, and we have added this text to an anchor tag. So we will style it first, and then we will start styling our model. We will type in register link and text decoration none to get rid of the underline, and display block, padding of 15 pixels, text color to white, and transition of color to 1000 milliseconds. We also have to style the hover part, so we'll type in register link hover, and here type color to black. So we have our register now button set up. Now we will move on to styling our model. Let me just comment it out. So the first thing that we will style is the model container. So if we see in this web page over here, we can see that we have this background over here, and this is our main model window, but the whole page is a part of the model. So if you close this and if we click on this register button, we can see the background changes, and so this part over here is the model container, and this is the actual model window. So we will style the model container, and in that we will first of all set the width to 100%, height to 100%, and we will also set the position to fixed, because we want some kind of position to be specified so that we can move this whole model window in the center. And then we will give it a background color of RGBA 27088, and A is actually the transparency or the opacity, and then we will set the opacity to 0 because we don't want it to be shown right now. And if we look closely over here, we can see that when we bring this mouse over here, we get this hand symbol, which means that we can click on this link over here. So if you want to get rid of that, we have to just type in pointer events none. So now if we bring our mouse pointer to these places, we don't get any distraction. Then we will give it a transition of all to 500 milliseconds, and is all means everything that is eligible for transition gets the effect applied to it. Now we will style the actual model window. So we will type in model and set the width to 350 pixels, and the height to 400 pixels, and set the margin to auto, which brings it to the center. Then we will set the position to absolute and the top to 0 pixels, bottom to 0 pixels, and right to 0 pixels and left 0 pixels. So this will bring it to the center. First of all, we will remove this opacity so that we can see what is going on, and after that we will give it a border of 2 pixels solid #222 and a padding of 20 pixels and box shadow of 0 pixels, 0 pixels, 50 pixels and 5 pixels black. So if you don't know how to use these box shadow and padding and all these basic things, I have talked about this in the previous videos, you can watch them. And then we will go ahead and style our model heading. Type in model heading and we will set the width to 100% and make it display block so that it will take a separate line for itself, and we will set the height to 60 pixels and margin bottom to 30 pixels, and then the color of the text to yellow. Set a padding of 10 pixels and box sizing to border box. I have talked about box sizing in a separate video, you can watch that if you don't know what this does. And then we will set the text align to center and font size to 20 points and font family to Big John, and we'll set the border bottom to 2 pixels solid FE. So that's our heading over here. Now we'll style the input fields. So we will just type in input. We don't have to put the dot over here because it's not a class, it is a tag. So we will just type in input. We will set the margin bottom to 15 pixels because we want a space in between all these fields. Then we will set the padding to 10 pixels and width to 100%. We'll also set the box sizing to border box so that the padding and border and all these things are not counted when we set the width or the height of our elements. Now we will give it a border radius of 5 pixels and a height of 50 pixels. So border radius gives us this rounded corners, and set the border to 0 because we don't want any borders, and the font family to Georgia and font size to 11 points and make it text aligned to the center. So that's it for our input fields. Now we will style the register button. So we will type ptn register. So our button is also of type input, so these styles are copied to our button as well. We will set the background color to red and the color of our text to white. Then we will set the font family to Georgia. I think we have set it already over here. So we will set the font size to 15 points and margin top to 10 pixels. So that's it for our button. Now we will style our close button. So this close button over here, we will just type dot close, and first of all give a text color to white, position absolute, and border of 2 pixels, solid 333, and padding of 7 pixels, 9 pixels, 11 pixels, and 9 pixels. Then we will set the font family to Big John and the background to black, and set the text decoration to none. Set the top to -20 pixels, so it will go a little bit higher, and then the right to -20 as well. So that will bring our button right up there. We also want it to be round, so the last thing that we need to do is set the border radius to 50%. That will make it round, and then we will set the transition of background color to 500 milliseconds. We will also style the hover. We'll give it a background color of #444 and cursor pointer. This will set the cursor to be different when we hover over it. So for our pointer to work, we have to remove the pointer events over here. I will just remove it for now. So when we hover over this close button, we can see the background color changes. I think we also need the hover for our register button. So we will just go ahead, and here we will type in button register, and hover will change the background color to #B80000. So we have that set up. Now we will go ahead and style both these links over here. So sign in, color white, display inline block, and margin top to 15 pixels, text align to left, float left, and text decoration none, and font size to 13 points. In the same way, we will also style our forgot password link. So forgot password, and pretty much the same over here. We'll just have to make a little bit of change. Just set text align to right and float to right. So that's it for both the links. And I think there is some problem with our line over here. We will just go ahead and check what is the problem. So in our model heading, we have to give a box sizing of border box, so that gets the problem sorted. We will also have to give a hover to these. So when we hover over this, we get these underlines. So we will just type in sign in hover and forgot password hover, text decoration to underline. So when we hover over these, we have the underline. So that's pretty much it for our model. Now we have to get the mechanism to work. We have to use some special keywords over here so that we can hide and show these models. If we see here in our HTML, we can see that we have given an ID called Modal to this model container division, and then in our anchor tag we have called this division by mentioning hash and the name of the division or the ID of the division. So to get everything working, we have to use the target keyword in CSS. So here we have to type in model container and target. So target will work when we click on this register now button. So when we click on this register now button, what happens is in the address bar in our browser, we can see that we are on index.html, and when we click on this register now button, this address bar changes to index.html hash model. To show this, we have to use the target property. So we will type in opacity 1 and pointer events auto. Here we will type pointer events to none and the opacity to 0. So when we click on this button, we can see this model over here. So let me just show you what happens. Now in our address bar we have index.html, and when we click on this register now button, if we go back to our address bar, we can see that it is index.html hash model. So when we have this hash model in our address bar, our model shows up. So this is how the model works. So we have to complete one more task, which is when we click on this button, this model slides down. So we have to create that animation as well. So for that, we have to access the division that is inside our model container. So if we go back to our HTML, we can see that inside model container we have another division called model. So this model is the actual window. We have to give a sliding animation to this division. So we have to type in model container and greater than sign and division. What this does is that it will access the division that is inside our model container. So here we can type in transform translate 0 pixels and -50 pixels. So what this line of code does is that it will slide our model division to a little bit to the top, and then we will give it a transition of all to 500 milliseconds. Is a type that we want the transition to happen. So there are many different types of options over here. We will talk about that in the coming videos. Now we have to set the target of this as well. So we will type in model container target division, and here we will type in transform translate, and we will set it back to 0 pixels 0 pixels. So if we click on this register now button, we can see that our model slides down from above, and if we close this, it slides back up. So when we click on this close button or any of these buttons, the reason that the model goes back up or the model disappears is because now when we have our model on the screen, if you go to our address bar and see, we can see that we have this hash model over here. So as long as we have this hash model, our model stays on the top, and when we click on this close button, what happens is that it just goes to a hash, because we had, if we go to our HTML, we can see that in our close button we had given a hash. So hash means that it will not go anywhere, it will just stay on the same page. So that's why we get back to our main page over here when we click on the close button. And that's pretty much it with our model. Now you can experiment with these HTML and CSS and come up with your own different ideas. So I hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial. I will link the source code of this video in the description, and if you like this video, please click on the like button and don't forget to subscribe to this channel to get the latest updates. So thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.